Hey, Tim Frisch with a Frisch Perspective here, and today we're going to nerd out some more talking about Bible translation, and specifically we're going to talk about the Christian Standard Bible, the CSB update this year in 2020. The reason I want to talk about this is because sometimes I see online people make comments about, waiting for the CSB 2020 update. They have questions about it. They don't know if they should get a Bible, and if they do get a CSB Bible, is it going to be the 2020 update? So from everything I know, the 2020 update has already been put in place, and the newest editions that are coming out of the CSB are the 2020 update. But I want to reiterate a point here that I've talked about before and I think is worth repeating, that there really needs to be a distinction between an update of a translation and a revision of a translation. So the reason I say that is because sometimes when people hear about an update of the CSB, a translation like this, they think, oh, okay, so the CSB from before is just completely different from the CSB now. But that's not really the case. This is really a minor update, and I'm going to show you some of the updates that they've actually publicized. I thought it would be interesting to take a look at this, but it's really a minor revision. It's what I call an update. I think a revision, though, if we're going to use that term, is for more of a major update. So I think an example of that would be like the New American Standard Bible 2020. And I think this is why there's confusion, because the NASB 2020, you could call it an update. The 95, I think, was considered an update. But with the NASB, the 95 and now the 2020, these are major overhauls, at least on some level, because they're really making some significant changes and pervasive changes to the translation. Whereas I think when you have an update, and you see that with the CSB 2020, as well as the English Standard Version a few times over the years has made some updates, these are not major revisions. These are just really minor updates. So let me just give you some examples here so you can see what I'm talking about. And actually, on the Christian Standard Bible website, they have access to this document that gives examples of the changes that they've made, and I will put a link to this document in the description of this video so that you can look at this yourself. But we can look at this together here, and you'll see it says, the CSB Translation Committee has made several improvements to the 2017 edition of the CSB. The adjustments are neither radical nor extensive because we are happy with the work that was carried out beforehand. Further, we do not intend to regularly update the text with minor revisions such as this. Still, good translation procedure requires any translation committee to be open to make changes as necessary. Many readers have pointed out places where an adjustment would help with consistency in grammar, style, and punctuation, and so we have tweaked certain passages. Here are a few of the changes we adopted. So before I go on, I just want to say that they do say clearly there they're not planning to continually make changes to the CSB. This is really something that they felt they needed to do just to tweak what they felt was already a really good revision. Now the revision, if we're going to use that word, was what happened in 2017 when they went from the Holman Christian Standard Bible to what they now call the Christian Standard Bible. There were definitely more pervasive and significant changes from the Holman Christian Standard Bible to the Christian Standard Bible. So that happened in 2017. But now here in 2020, they're doing this update. But I want to point out that even the New King James Version, which hasn't been changed really much at all since the beginning, from what I know, it came out in 1982 in its completed form, and then in 1984 there was, I believe, an update to it. And then I think since 1984 there haven't been any changes. So you can see that, even with the New King James translation like that, they will make an update, especially at the beginning, right after the translation's completed and it's been put out in the public. I think what they're trying to do sometimes is just refine something a little bit that is already, it's pretty much where they want it to be, but once it goes out into the public and people read it and give feedback, they make some minor changes. And so we saw that with the New King James Version, and I think that's what we're seeing here with the Christian Standard Bible. I don't think we're going to see continual changes, certainly nothing significant to the Christian Standard Bible. So what are these changes that they're talking about? It says, in a few instances, due to helpful feedback from Mark Strauss, we changed Christ to Messiah. Also, in certain cases, we have returned to the metaphor walk, especially in Ephesians, instead of using the word live. In other instances, we opted for a change in order to increase clarity. We list some examples below. The first list of examples here are just changes for clarity. I'll read a few of these at least. Matthew 6:16 says, from make their faces unattractive to disfigure their faces. So I guess they felt like making faces unattractive didn't work as well as just saying disfigure their faces. And then Matthew 18:15, from go and rebuke him in private to go tell him his fault between you and him alone. Luke 1:46, my soul praises the greatness of the Lord, to my soul magnifies the Lord. John 2:4, from what does that have to do with you and me, woman, to what has this concern of yours to do with me, woman? And then Romans 3:25 says, from as an atoning sacrifice in his blood received through faith, to as the mercy seat by his blood through faith. Footnote or propitiation or place of atonement. See corresponding article, mercy seat, in the Christian Standard Bible. That's an interesting one. That's a translation that I actually pointed out recently in one of my videos, talking about the more innovative approach that the CSB has. So the mercy seat term being used there in Romans 3:25, that's actually part of the 2020 update. In Romans 3:26, 4, 5, 5, 1, and 9, from declare righteous to justify. So before it said that God would declare someone righteous, now it uses, I think, just the more traditional term justify. So, I mean, I could go on here, but you get the idea. These are just changes that they feel just add some clarity, or I'm not sure it's always clarity. Sometimes I think they just want to go with something they feel is going to resonate better with many of the Christian readers out there. Maybe a couple more examples, just so you get more of the taste. 2 Corinthians 6:14, don't become partners to do not be yoked together. That's interesting. So I guess they wanted to keep more of the imagery there of being yoked, rather than just trying to interpret that as being partners. 1 Timothy 1:10, from homosexuals to males who have sex with males, consistent with 1 Corinthians 6:9. Hebrews 2:10 and 12:2, from source to pioneer. Hebrews 10:24, let us watch out for one another to provoke, and let us consider one another in order to provoke. So just interesting to see. I can see why they made some of these changes. Others, it's really just a matter of opinion. But, they're not major changes. There's not anything super significant. And that's really a major point that I want to make here in this video, is that, people I think they tend to get hung up on this. And, it's up to you if this is really a big thing for you. But I think some people feel like, well, I don't want to get a 2017 edition because, that's not the newest edition. For me, I just don't see these as being all that different. Yeah, I do want to have the updated edition, and I'm going to have some that are 2020, some that are 2017. But I don't think, it should keep you from buying a CSB just because it's not the latest update. That's my opinion. But let me show you some other examples. So you have changes that they said were more about clarifying, and then here it says we also made a number of adjustments in the Old Testament, and here are some of the most notable. And so there are several examples there. Changed fire offering to food offering, changed idols to worthless idols to more accurately convey the meaning of the Hebrew word. Changed rage to fury several times, so as not to imply that God is ever out of control. Changed robe of many colors to long-sleeved robe with a footnote, ornate, in light of lexical evidence. Changed nanny to nursing mother to avoid the baggage that the former word carries. So I'm not I'm not aware of what baggage nanny carries, but maybe because of the television show, people picture that nanny. I don't know. Maybe Mary Poppins. I don't know. But anyway, they went from nanny to nursing mother. So, this just gives you a taste of, again, the changes they're making. They're not necessarily major, but they felt they needed to tweak things and refine them a little bit. One more section here. It says the following passages might be noticed by the discerning reader. Genesis 7:8 changed unclean to not clean because the technical ceremonial distinction had not been made at this point. Exodus 34:7 changed the father's iniquity to the consequences of the father's iniquity to better reflect the nuance of the Hebrew word on in this context. Deuteronomy 32:35 changed vengeance belongs to me, I will repay, to vengeance and retribution belong to me to better represent the Hebrew grammar. Joshua 5:14 changed worship to homage because Joshua's intention was to show respect to a person, not to worship God. So again, all of these changes, they're really just with the intent of tweaking it and trying to refine the Christian Standard Bible. This is not really a full-blown revision of the CSB. And so I just wanted to point that out and reiterate that, when it comes to these updates, some updates of translations really are minor, and I call them updates. But I think if something is a major update, that's where I might tend to call it a revision. And so the New American Standard Bible 2020, I see that as more of a revision, whereas the Christian Standard Bible 2020, I just see more as an update, trying to tweak and improve the translation, but not do anything that you would consider a major overhaul or pervasively changing anything. So anyway, those are some thoughts that I have on this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for listening to what I have to say from a Frisch perspective.